Okay, let's practice with what you guys read through and watched on the video and do some single table queries of a few different databases. We're going to start off with the vArt database, and you will find that in this week's information. So what you're going to do is once you download that from Canvas, you're going to open the script. So you're going to say open SQL script. Find where you downloaded the vArt SQL and open that up. It's important to open it up from Workbench. If you double click it from the window where you downloaded it, it could open it up without a server connection and you might have to use this icon to reconnect. So it's just always easier to download it from our course module and then open it here. Okay. Once you have the one that's the vArt database, you're going to go ahead and run all the code on that entire tab with just the regular lightning bolt execute icon, and it will run that. And if you refresh your database or schema list, you should see now the new vArt. Not only did it create the database, but it also inserted all of the information. Now this is the same database, maybe with a few minor changes that you inserted data into on last week, but we're just all going to download the same ones, so everybody's primary keys are the same, everybody's information is the same. So you can drop your other one if you want. You can always use your homework to recreate it, but we're going to now be using the vArt in some queries today. All right, so in order to make sure that is our current database that we are using, and we're going to use the keyword use, and then we're going to name the database. And I'm going to hit a command enter or control enter and run that one statement, and you should see that it's now bolded in Workbench, which means it is the current active database in use. Let's just take a look again at that artwork table, and I'm going to use the asterisk that's just going to get every single column from the artwork table. Run that and we'll see all the different columns that we have on the table. We might have a few extra columns that we didn't have last week, but there it is. Now remember from your video and readings, the asterisk is not the best thing to do, especially once you've got a system up and running. It's just a good kind of quick way to get out everything that's in the table as you're just working through the queries. But once you have a production ready system, you really shouldn't use asterisks. Okay, so you can always just use the name of the column, separated by commas if you have more than one, and we can get just two of the columns, the title column and the period column, from that same, whoops, it auto added. Okay, from that same table, and it will do just those two columns. All right, you do have to put them in order, from and then, or select and then from. All right, so that's pretty much just everything that was on the table. We also can order them or sort them, and you can choose any of the columns you want. This will just say order by title, and now if I run that statement, you'll see that now it is alphabetically ordered by the title. So our result set is alphabetically ordered. If it was a column that held numbers, it would put the smallest number first and the biggest number last. You can reverse it so that the default is ascending, which is what it did. So if you leave the ASC ascending keyword off, it does the same thing. So if I run this, it's the same thing. And if you want it to be reversed, so Z to A or biggest number to littlest number, you can put the DESC for descending keyword with the order by, and then it will do from lower in the alphabet to higher in the alphabet. Okay, so that's the sorting. We can also do a limit. So say we just wanted the top 5 alphabetical artworks. So we could say limit each row to 5. And what that's going to do is it's just going to cut off everything that was below the 5th row. basically. And so that's limit. So if you just wanted the top 3 or something like that, if you had numbers, you wanted the most, the biggest sales or the most expensive products or whatever, and you'd done a descending, you could have limited it by 3. So that's limit by 3. We won't use that a whole lot in this class, but there is a clause I wanted to cover. They do need to go in this order. Select from order by limit. Okay, let's try a where clause. So if we say select the title where artist ID is equal to 3, and we run that, we will get whoever artist ID 3 is, their artwork. Now remember, if I run line 3 again, we see that we have a foreign key here. And so it's coming over here and it's saying, okay, limit it, filter it down to just these 3 rows here, because those are the ones that have artist ID of 3. And it just happens to be those 3 that correspond to that, and that's the title that we had listed here. Okay, why couldn't we have put where last name equals Da Vinci? Because obviously artist number 3 is Da Vinci. Because we are only using one table and we have to use the data from this table. Nowhere on this table does it say Leonardo da Vinci. It only says artist number 3. Okay, so I couldn't say where it was Da Vinci's work, but later in a future week we will go over where we could do something like that, where we have to put 2 tables together before we can do something like that. But this one works fine because that foreign key is on the table. It can see that and filter it down from that. Okay, let's try the greater than and less than sign. So if we look at the title and the period again, and we say where, let's do the art. Let's see, we've got an art year here that we can look at that are numbers. And remember, we used numbers, integers here instead of the year date type, because some of these dates are really old and the range of the year did not go that low. So we did use integer for art year, and so we can say art year. Actually, we could have done this with just year data type as well. I want the art years that are greater than 1800. And we can filter that down. I'm going to add the art year column up here too, so we can actually see that and see that all of these are over 1800. We could say less than 1800, and we would get all the ones that are under year 1800. Okay, so there's the greater than and less than sign. But this is interesting if you can do it with letters as well. So if I say everything less than I, it's actually going to look, let's change this because there's no I's in art here. Let's look at the title. So everything less than I. You'll see that 3 pieces of artwork have a title that is earlier in the alphabet than I. It's either A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And those 3 fit in that category. So there is an iris painting, but it is an IR and then has other letters in it. I is just the letter I. So anything I with letters behind it would be greater than, and we said less than. Okay, so you would have, even if you put an equal sign, it's still saying it has to be equal to just the string I all by itself, and there is no painting with just the word I. So you could do something like, I want all the I, so I'd put like IZ maybe, or something simpler, you might just say less than J, and then you know you're going to get all the I's in there too. So it's kind of interesting. So you can use the greater than, less than sign with letters, but just be aware it's very strict about what exactly it means with the strings. All right, so let's try to do some greater than and less thans with a logical operator, an AND operator. So I'm going to go back to the art year, and we're going to say we want everything greater than 1800 like we had before, and I want the art year as well that is less than 1900. All right, so greater than 1800 and also less than 1900. So if I run that, I should only get the ones in the 1800s. Now with and, you get both conditions have to be true. So it has to also be greater than 1800 and it also has to be less than 1900 for them to show up. And 4 of them fit that category, that filter. All right, we can also do the same similar thing with the between clause. And so we can say where art year is between 1800 and 1900. Okay, so a little less typing. So it also is doing a range. You just don't have to put 2 different conditions down there. And it will get the exact same results. I just didn't have the period in there, so it doesn't look exactly the same, but you get the same thing. Okay, at this point I have students usually asking me, oh, I want to kind of make a note to myself. So you can be putting comments in here. Remember, a comment's just going to be ignored by the system as it runs. And you can make little notes to yourself. My computer's lagging over here. Another way to get filter with range. Oops. And then you could give yourself another way to make a comment is you can do the hashtag without any, you don't have to put a space after it like you do the dash dash. Filter with a range. Anyway, you can make little comments to yourself so you can kind of keep track of what you're doing here. All right, let's show the in keyword. So say we are looking at the titles of the paintings, same table, the artwork table, and this time we're going to say where the period, remember periods like post-impressionism, modern, baroque, all those kind of things, where the period in modern and baroque. So we only want to see those that are either modern or baroque. And then we should get those ones. Again, I'll probably put the period up here just so we can see that we're getting just the right ones. Oh, I have a period there and not a comma. Okay, so we have 4 moderns, 1 baroque that are coming up from this. So this is the same thing as saying where period equals modern and period equals baroque. So again, the in keyword is giving us a little less typing that we have to do, so just a handy little syntax there. It's not a range, it's just saying it has to be this or it has to be that. Show all of them that have those. And so I could even go in and type another one in and show all those as well. Okay, let's look at the like and regular expression keywords. So like and regular expression work with string patterns. So if you know somewhere inside title it's got the word old, but you can't remember what the title is, so you get, can I just see all the paintings with the word old in them, even if they don't have other characters? And so you're not sure what other words are in there or what other text and characters are in there. You can use these string patterns to kind of find them. So say you are going to grab the title and the period again. Should just be copying and pasting these. And where the period is like, and say you're not sure if the database entry person put it in as impressionistic or impressionism. You also want to get all those that say post-impressionism or pre-impressionism. You just want anything that has impression in it somewhere. So you can do this. You can say, I'm not sure if it has post in the front of it, so I'm just going to put a %. And that means that it's any number of characters, like a wildcard character. And then you can put the word impression, and then that would cover impressionism, impressionistic, and then you don't know how it ends, so we're going to put another %, that again, wildcard for any number of characters. Just somewhere in that string you want the pattern impression found. And then you can run that, and you should get anything that is close to that word. So we got a couple with post, and that was at the beginning. Nothing really, well, the ism at the end we're representing with the ending percent sign. But that's the idea. In the bike example we'll do here in a little while, we'll see a good example of this as well. Okay, you can do the same thing with regular expression. So I'm going to copy this down, so after we copy it, this time though I'm going to say reg exp for regular expression. And then this time you don't have to put percent sign. It will find that string anywhere in the period string. So you don't have to put the percent signs with regular expression. It will find the same thing. Regular expressions also can do some fun things. They can say, you could say something like it starts with the caret symbol. What are we doing? Period. We'll do post. Starts with post. And it would find all the ones that start with post. Or it ends in ism with a $sign. And it find all those that end in ism. So you kind of have to look up regular expression tables and see what all the little symbols are and what they mean. There's only 2 characters with like, or 2 wildcard characters. There's the underscore, that means 1 character. So if we did something like ost dash impressionism, it would use the P as the 1 character. And then the percent sign. Those are the only 2 wildcard characters you need to remember with like. With regular expression, there's all sorts of little characters and symbols that you can use. We're not going to go over all of them, just a few here. For example, if I was looking at the title of like, for example, remember I was saying I want to find all those that have old in them, right? So I could find, oh yeah, it was the old guitarist I was looking for. I couldn't remember. Or you can say, I want to find everything with the word the. Then you can put a bar symbol, which is the shift and then the key above your enter key. And I want to find all the thes, or all the ins, or all the ons in every single title. I want to find those that have that string pattern in them, I should say. So here's on and the in Storm on the Sea of Galilee. There's O-N in Mona Lisa. There's in and the in The Women in the Garden. Okay, so these are like kind of or symbols. So there's just a few regular expressions, but they, like in regular expression, do the same thing. They look for string patterns inside other strings. All right, let's talk about aliases. So if we have, let's look at the artist table now. So we've got the first name. Let's just show the artist table really fast so we remember what's in that table. And we've got all the names of the artists, dates of births, countries, local, and all that. So if we want to grab their first name, middle name, and last name, and they have to say what table we're getting it from, that will show all their first, middle, and last names. We can change these header names here so that they're not the column name. So we give them an alias, also known as. So you would use the keyword as, and you would say something like first. Now it's blue because first is actually a keyword, not a keyword we're going to use, and it'll still work, but you could say something like artist first name or something like that, or you could put it in quotes with a space. Anyway, but we'll leave it first for now, and then we'll do the middle and last. Put in capitals so they look kind of nice as headers. Now you'll notice that those headers right here have a nice different alias to them. What's interesting is you can use this alias sometimes later in the code as well. Those of you that are programmers, it's kind of like a variable name, like you can kind of use it instead of the other name. So you could say something like where, well, let's do this. Let's say order by middle. And it will actually alphabetize it by middle name. The nulls are going first, but then it's alphabetizing the last 3 with the middle name. Okay, so you could use that alias instead of m name with order by. But in a minute, you'll see you can't use it with where, and I'm going to show you why. But before then, let's do a filter, and let's say mname is not null. Now with nulls, you can't use a greater than sign or a less than sign or an equal sign. You have to use is or is not. So what this is saying is I want to see only those that actually have a middle name where it is not null. So now it's going to filter it out to just those that are not null. If I change that to is null, it would show just those that are null. So with null, you do need to use the is or is not instead of the other operator symbols. Okay, now why can't I put middle here? Why do I get an error that says unknown column middle in your where clause? It recognized it with order by, but it is not recognizing it with where. Okay, so this is an important concept. It's going to come back to in a couple of other examples in the weeks to follow, not just with aliases. And it's important to understand what's going on here. If you remember from your reading, you read about the order of execution. This is the order that we write code, and it has to be this order. You should memorize it, because that's how you're going to be writing it. Select, from, where, order by, and limit by. However, when the system goes to run a query that you coded, it will actually run it in this order down here. So with the one we just wrote, it's going to go to the artist table. It says, oh, they want the artist table in the from statement, and pretty much just look at all the entire table. Then it's going to filter it out by those that did not have, or that did have a middle name. We're going to look at that one. So it's still going to have their primary key, their first, middle, and last name, their date of birth, date of death, country, local. It's still going to have all that at this point. It's just filtering it down by those ones that had a last name. Then it gets to the select, and that's where the aliases were set up. So if you try to use an alias in where, it will not recognize it because it has not even seen the select statement yet. So it has not seen those as keywords with the aliases. Then it will, so at this point, it then narrows it down to just the columns that you put in the select statement, and it will see their aliases. Then it will do order by. So that's why I could use middle in order by, because it had already seen the alias. Okay, so you can't use an alias in where if it's set up in select, but you can in the order by. I know it's really weird. I didn't write SQL. From the research I've done, they just seem to think that it's logical for people to think in this order, or the way they naturally speak the language. I don't know. But this is actually the order that it runs in. All right, so let's go back to code. Okay, so that's why you have to use mname here, because from runs first, then where, then select. So it has not seen as middle yet at this point. But then order by runs last, and it will have already seen this part of the code. I know, weird, you're just going to have to kind of keep that in the back of your mind when something weird like that happens. And remember, it's because of the order of execution. Okay, let's grab the bike SQL that you downloaded. Again, it will be available in your course content. And I've already grabbed mine. It's called bike.sql. Let me open it the right way though. File, open SQL script, and open bike SQL, and there is another one. This one is has many more tables than the art one, and it has a lot of data that's being put into it. So I'm going to run everything here and refresh my list, and you should see the bike there. I'll go back to this one. I can still stay on the same tab even though it's a new database. In fact, you'll do that this week with your homework. And I can start using the bike database, but you'll see at this point it may not be the one that's currently used, so we want to make sure we run that use bike, and it is the current database. And let's take a quick look at what that looks like. So this, I did a quick let's see, reverse engineer to get the ERD. You can do the same thing with it. We're going to mainly be looking at this product table right now, but you might use a few of the other tables in your homework. But basically it's a bike shop that has a few stores, and there's staff that work at the stores, there's staff that oversees customer orders, there's details to the customer orders, they order bikes, that's their product, or bikes. They keep track of what stock at what bike is in stock at each store. The product either belongs to a brand or category as a foreign key here, so brand and category are kind of lookup tables. That will be a foreign key in products. So we've got the product ID as the foreign key, the name of the bike, the model year of the bike, the price of the bike, what brand it is, what category it is. Okay, so we'll definitely get to know this database a little more in the future. But let's go ahead and just look at that product table. And I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at everything from the product table. And we'll see all the bikes. We have, I think, like 312 different bikes on this table. And, oh, more than that, 321. And they all start with their brand name and have some different text after it. They have different model years and prices, different brands and categories, and a unique primary key. All right, I want to show this one because I want to do some math with this price. We didn't have any really good numbers to do math with other than the year and the artist and artwork one, but the bike one has some good numbers that we can do some math with. And I want to show how you can do calculations in the select clause. So if we want to look at the name of the bike, which is the product name, maybe the model year, and then we can do kind of a calculation. This one is actually a function, and we can take that list price and round it. Right now you see the list price all in like 99 cents. And we could use an alias here since, well, let's look at it without the alias first. Okay, we're getting this from the product table. And if we run that, we see now it rounds up to the nearest dollar. Okay, there's a way to get different decimal places. We'll learn all about functions later. There'll be lots of different functions in a few weeks' time, but right now we're just going to look, I'm just trying to show that you can do calculations inside the select clause. You could also, at this point, when you start doing calculations, you probably don't want the whole calculation to show, so this is a good time to use a alias, and you could say something like rounded price. And then it would have a nice header for you. All right, you could also just add a number to it. So say you want to mark up all your bikes by $100. Or maybe I should have said minus 100 to give a sale or something, but we'll say marked up price or something like this at this point. And so then it will add $100 to it. And you can, I'm going to actually add the list price again just so you can see the difference there. So here was the original price, $379. We added 100 to it in this column that's before it, and there's where it shows up. Now, a good question that students will ask me at this point is, did we just add $100 to everything in the database? Did I just change my values in my database and add 100 to them? We are not changing the original database values at all. We are just grabbing the information from the database to put in our result set, and at that point we are calculating some differences. But it does not actually change the data in my database. So if I run this select everything from products again, you'll see those list prices did not get $100 added to them. They are still just fine. The only place it added the 100 is into my result set, not the actual database. I would have to actually do an update command, and then it would change it. But we are not changing it. Queries with the select statement are never going to change your original database. So, all right. We can also, let's see, add a where clause here. And we can actually use the calculation here as well. We can say where the list price plus 100 is greater than 1,000. So you'll see some of these some of them were not over 1,000. So we want to eliminate all those that were under 1,000. So we only want those that are greater than 1,000 to show. Okay, so now we only have markup prices that were greater. So this is actually the markup price right here. Remember, we can't use the alias, and it's kind of hard to use aliases, spaces in them anyway. So we've got to use the original name, and if we want to have that plus 100, we've got to add it there as well. We could, however, if I'll take the spaces out because sometimes the spaces are not that great with, we'll just call it marked up as the alias. We can then, of course, come down here and do an order by marked up because it is at that point seeing the select statement, seeing the alias, and it will run just fine and actually order it by from lowest to biggest marked up price. Okay, let's do one more that looks at the and the or and the order of precedence there. So if we say select product name, and I'm sorry this video is getting a little long, but I want to make sure we cover everything you need for this week. Okay, so if we say give the product name and model year for the product, where product name like Trek. So what we want to find is all those that have the word Trek somewhere in it at the beginning, and then any number of characters after. Because if you look at these, they'll start with the name of the brand. We know some of them start with Trek, but we don't know what's after. And I don't want to have to say where Trek, where the product name equals this whole long name, and this whole long name, and this whole long name. I just want to get all the Trek bikes. I don't know what characters come after all of them. So I'm going to put the percent sign, which means any number of characters. But I know it starts with Trek. Okay, so that is one instance of where you might use the like. Now you have all the Trek bikes. But say you also wanted to get all of the Surly bikes as well. Again, you have to say product name like Surly. And then again, we don't know what ends there, so we're going to use that. Now we have all the Trek bikes and all the Surly bikes coming up. Why can't I put and here? Because I want those and those. Because both of these conditions have to be true. If I run this, I get nothing. Because there are no products that begin with Trek and also begin with Surly, because that would be the only ones that could show up. They can't both begin with two different streams. So be careful with and or. But in this case, we want either this one or this one. One can be true or the other can be true for it to show up, right? We don't want them to both have to be true. Okay, now here's where it gets kind of interesting. What if we also say now, and we want the model year not to be equal to 2016. Remember, there's two different ways you can say not equal to. You can say exclamation mark equal sign, or you can do these two angle brackets. So what I'm kind of thinking in my mind is I want all the Trek and Surly bikes, but I don't want to see any 2016 bikes. So I run that and I say, wait a minute, I'm getting 2016 bikes. I said, no, don't do that. What's happening here is and gets precedence. So it's running this part first. It's saying, find all the Surly bikes and where the model year doesn't equal 2016. So it's going to get all the Surly bikes. So if you look at all the Surly bikes, they don't have 2016 on them. So both of these had to be true for it to show up. Then it's going here and saying, okay, and then give me all the Trek bikes. Well, some of the Trek bikes have 2016. So ands run first. The two conditions around the and will run first. So if I wanted to kind of how I was thinking it, how I was saying it, I would have to put parentheses around it to up the order of precedence. This now says run what's inside the parentheses first. Then once you find all the Trek and Surly bikes, then don't show me anything that's 2016. Now we can see it's all Trek and Surly bikes and there are no 2016s. Okay, so that's more what we were kind of wanting. So be careful because and does have precedence over or. Okay, again, if I changed this to or and ran it, you'll see I get some like Haro bikes in here. That's because it can be one of these two bikes, or it can be any bike that doesn't have the year 2016. So any bike that was not 2016, that's any other brand, could show up as well. So watch those ands and ors and what precedents they go into and things like that. So I just want to show kind of one of those that's kind of longer and might have some interesting things you need to think about. Okay, I think that covers most of what we saw in the video, gave you a little bit hands-on practice, and hopefully that helped a little bit. Go ahead and try those out yourself and play around, and that's how you learn. Okay, thank you.